Giving Habit, brought to you in partnership with the Majority Trust. Learn more about how they do philanthropy differently at majority.sg. This week's Reflection episode will focus on the interview I held with Lisa Gainer, CEO of TalentTrust. And joining me for this reflection is Connie Tsang. Connie, welcome to The Giving Habit.
Thank you, Stephen.
Very good. Now, you and I met as part of the Distinguished Senior Fellowship Program, that 13-week program of discovery that was run by the National University of Singapore.
Right.
It was super fun. Now, I know why I signed up. I'm kind of curious, when you signed up, what were you hoping to achieve or discover from the program?
So actually, before I signed up the program, I quitted my corporate role, and then I fulfilled some family commitment that I had at the time, and then I had some time, like good time traveling with my husband for a few months. So it was actually at a time that I was thinking like, what's next that I wanted to do. So there were a few things that I had in mind that I wanted to achieve. One is I wanted to keep learning. I want to learn something new. Not so much about the professions anymore, but things that are of interest. And so to keep my mind active and stay sharp and stay curious. And I want to expand my social network. And I also want to give back to the society. So when I was introduced to DSFP, I think it really fits all the three areas that I was looking for.
Yeah? I think so. I'd certainly agree with you on the opportunity to meet with like-minded people. It was interesting to me, like-minded people, but from such varied backgrounds, all over Asia and beyond. I really enjoyed that. We got involved in so many different conversations. One of those actually relates to TalentTrust, right?
Yes.
So we started talking about skills-based volunteering, and subsequently I introduced you to Lisa, and I think you've gone on to do some work with TalentTrust. How did you get on?
Yeah, so before I talk about my TalentTrust experience, I think it was actually a very good conversation that we had in Cambodia.
It was.
And I still remember I was just telling you that I wanted to contribute my skills. I didn't know how and where to start. And I didn't even know about this term called skills-based volunteering. And then you introduced me to that and shared with me about TalentTrust. And so far my experience with TalentTrust has been great. I've signed up with them as a skills-based volunteer, and I've just started to work on a project with a nonprofit. And I was also I joined an event last week to be a volunteer mentor in a workshop to support the nonprofits, help them to learn about AI, and I was able to pick something new myself too. So it was really a fun experience and a great experience.
Very good. When it comes to AI, I think I'd be a mentee, not a mentor, that's for sure. But so far with all your engagement, what's surprised you the most so far?
I would say, nonprofit is really an area that I was not familiar with. Yep. So there was so much learning for me about this whole new area. And I think one example, simple example, like in the video you and Lisa talked about IPC. Yeah. And I recall the first time when I heard about this term IPC, I was completely lost. What exactly is it? So there's a lot of things to learn. And I would say what surprised me in this area is there is so many nonprofits in all working on very noble causes, but a lot of them there is very little visibility. Yeah. And I think a lot of people just don't know that they exist. Yeah. And then these nonprofits, they also have very limited resources. So I'm glad that now I have a venue that I'm able to contribute my skills and be able to help these nonprofits to succeed.
It's the work that TalentTrust does is super important, I think. And actually, what reminds one of the things in the interview that Lisa talks about that really struck me was this sense of the work of skills-based volunteering transforming both the charity, right? You're getting together a group of people to apply their skills to a particular problem or opportunity or idea that charity has. She says, yeah, sure, it transforms the charity, but it also transforms the individual that's actually supporting that, the mentor, if you will. I felt that. There was a lot of learning that comes out of it, a lot of realization, even it's, to your point, just the amount of unmet need there is in even a seemingly wealthy market like Singapore. There's still lots of unmet needs, there's still lots of charities doing really, really important work. What part of the interview stuck with you or most interested you or that you got the most out of?
Well, I think it's the part that when Lisa shared the experience that there was this executive who was so surprised and shocked when he found out how little resources the nonprofit has.
Yes.
And I think they were talking about a marketing budget, and he was like asking, how much budget do you have? And the person told him like 1,000. Is that a month? No, that's a year. And that really struck me on how little resources that these nonprofits have. And that also sort of related to my own experience as well. And so, I worked in an MNC before, and I was in charge of marketing. So, so every year we got a pretty decent A&P budget. And so the biggest problem that we had was, I recall pretty much every year, particularly towards the year end, I had to work with my team to make sure that we can spend every single dollar of the budget that we have. And of course, in a good way that we can produce the result. But so $1,000 was like really nothing to me back in those days. But now, I mean, to me, it's also a bit of different stories because I've co-founded a startup. And so with the startup mindset, it's like very different. Like $1,000 or even $100, I would have to think twice or even 3 times before I commit the spending. So, so in a way now, I think with my own experience in like co-founding a startup, I can see I can relate to these nonprofits a bit more that I can empathize with them. Because in a way, I think we are in very similar situations.
Very similar situations. With limited budget, you're forced to innovate as well, which actually makes the work super exciting in some ways. Challenging, but exciting. Let's talk about that startup, because my understanding is the startup you've co-founded came out as a direct result of DSFP. So by way of context to people listening, DSFP has kind of a purpose project at the heart of the 13-week learning program. An idea that if there's something that interests you, that you really care about, there's an encouragement and there's a support facility to enable those ideas, to bring those ideas to life.
Right.
And that's exactly what's happened to you, right? So why don't you tell me more about that startup?
Yeah, sure. So my purpose project is called 360 Cogni, and it is a project about dementia prevention. And if I may, I'll share a little bit more about the background of why I'm so interested in this topic. My passion actually dated back like 2 years ago when I decided to leave my corporate role to spend more quality time with my parents. At the time, my father, he had leukemia, and fortunately, he was responding quite well to the treatment. But I know that time was counting down. So while he still could enjoy like good quality of life, I wanted to make sure that we are able to spend time with him, like together as a family, that I'm free from work, free from conference calls and all that. So that's why I made that decision. And then at the time, while I was able to free up my time, like no more back-to-back conference calls, meetings, travels, then I was also able to think about like what else and what's next. Particularly at the time, I was thinking that I actually need to prepare for my mother after my dad passed on. And so actually, I didn't exactly know what I needed to do. And but it just happened that like one day in SGH, I passed by the AIC office, and then I saw a brochure about dementia. Then I thought like, wow, yeah, I've heard about something about dementia. It's like things to the old people. So maybe this is something that I need to understand more. And so then I took the brochure and I started to read more about dementia, and I started to like see stories about people living with dementia and about their caregivers as well. And I would have to say it was like so miserable at the beginning. And every time I read those stories, I can tell you that my eyes were just watering with tears.
It's sad.
It was so sad. So then I became very scared. Like I was really afraid that like what happened to my mother if she had it, or what, even worse, like what happens to if I have it, then it's going to be a big impact to the family. So so I really wanted to do something about this area. Then as I learn more about and research more about this area, I actually find hope in this. And so there is actually research showing that up to 45% of dementia cases could be prevented through lifestyle changes. So this is really very controllable in our own hands. So that's why I'm so passionate about this, and I wanted to bring this to more people. And so I brought this idea to the DSFP project, and I was so glad that I was able to meet some like-minded fellows to work on this together and to shape it. So, so basically what we are putting together now for 360 Cogni, it is a tool that would help us. I think Singapore, you all know that we are becoming a super age society. Yep. And dementia could be a big problem and a big burden to the society. So what we are putting together is to enable midlife adults like you and me. We start to take charge of our cognitive health. So, so we have put together a tool that people can come and do a quick screening to see what opportunities we have. And then you'll be able to get access to some good programs that are tailored to these opportunities, and then be able to keep track of the progress as well. So all these are going to be on a digital tool so that you can access anywhere and anytime. So stay tuned. We are going to launch it very soon, and you'll definitely be the first to know about this.
Very good, very good. Creating a new startup, that's a great adventure. So yeah. Fantastic. And presumably, they're getting involved in things like learning programs, DSFP, getting involved in skills-based volunteering with TalentTrust. These are also ways in which we can protect and manage our cognitive health, right?
Yes.
So super important. Good for you for doing those things. Maybe final question, you may come across people, maybe you've experienced it yourself, this idea that I'm approaching midlife, I'm looking for, I've been successful in my career, I'm looking for something more significant now in the second half of my life. And we start to wonder whether our skills and our experiences count for anything anymore, or how we'll feel without the comfort of our corporate titles. And what advice would you give to people that are feeling that way?
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting question. And that reminded me how I felt 2 years ago when I decided to leave my corporate role. Because suddenly I'm nobody anymore without my corporate identity. And so, yeah, I'll say that actually over the past 2 years with DSFP and with all the other things that I've been working on, like co-founding a startup and volunteering, all these, I would say the experiences that I had through all these corporate experiences, they are definitely very relevant and still very useful as I venture to my next stage. And like one example I would say is like all these experiences that we have actually come from the real business problems that we have worked on. And so they actually have become like part of us already, and it's sort of like translated into our wisdom. And then there are always some people out there that would be looking for and would value having a real person, sharing the wisdom, sharing their experiences with them as they go along their journey. Even in these AI days, I think having a real person, the conversation is definitely different. So yeah, it could be like to someone, your own children, it could be to a student or young person getting into a real business world now. Could be a midlifers, like wanting to start, doing something different, or like non-profits that we meet through TalentTrust. So all these experiences, I think, is definitely still very useful as we venture into our next stage. But I would say that don't be complacent. I mean, like whatever we know, that's good, but then it doesn't mean that we don't need to learn about new things.
Lifelong learning.
I would say that like lifelong learning, definitely very important. So I think what we have plus what we keep learning, I think it would definitely enable us to continue to make an impact in the many, many years that are still ahead of us as we talk about living up to 100 years these days.
Yeah, very good. You reminded me of something, and I think that's really good advice, and there's places like TalentTrust if people want to explore skills-based volunteering. But the remarks you made there about bringing our wisdom to bear, there's a phrase that someone used once: the conversation is often not about the work, the conversation is the work. The value we bring is based on our wisdom and our experience, and long may that continue. Connie, thank you for the conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Stephen. Same here.